Hey guys, Mr.Higgles here, bringing you another video on War Robots. So, if you can, hopefully you can read the screen here. That's what we're going to be testing this week. So we got the first thing we're going to be looking at is the Redeemer here, and it's it's pretty powerful as you can see. Right now I'm running up and charging this Lancelot. I got a couple of shots off before before he turned around. Then this Fury drops in, and he starts taking like chunks out of me. Like I had absolutely no chance. It's pretty crazy, actually. A Fury with 3 Redeemers is definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with. This is the first time I got to actually use the Vortex, and it seems to, like right there, it seems to hit very close to center mass, or just center mass in general. So it's very, very interesting, because a lot of the time, like with aphids and everything, they'll hit more so center mass and then kind of to the top. These tend to not do that. But as you saw there, again, center mass. But this weapon, like the Redeemer, it does quite a lot of damage, even for a single burst. But you have a period of time for it's like a second and a half, maybe even 2-3 seconds before it actually fires again. So it'll burst out 2 or 3 volleys, and then you have to wait 2 or 3 seconds, and then it'll go again, just like that. Now it's pretty impressive here that using 2 of them, just in 3 shots, I was able to break this Lancelot's shield, which again is very, very impressive. Definitely, I don't think this weapon needs any kind of buff at all. I would like to actually, I don't know, I'm kind of torn between it, because if the weapon stays like it is, it could be a very good counter to the dash bots. But again, it only has 350 meters for range, and so because of that, and the fact that it fires so slow, it's not as effective as it could be if it fired faster. But then again, if it fired faster, it would be completely overpowered. So I wanted to see what one could do here. I got a Rhino coming up. I almost said Lancelot. And then he turns to face somebody else, which is a big mistake. So here I wanted to figure out what one could do. So I start firing into this Raijin shield. And I got the, it looks like Orkin's coming down. But it doesn't take very long before we snap off the front of his shield here. And again, I was just very impressed with this weapon. It does quite a lot of damage. And then we have the dock, which has 4 vortexes on it. And I really did find this weapon to be very, very underwhelming, this test server. I don't know if there was a glitch with damage, with how the damage was registering, but it just did not seem to be effective at all, especially on shielded bots. Now, I don't know if that's just because it's, again, hitting the center mass and not really hitting anything with other robot besides the frontal shield. But it really didn't seem to really do anything. But like right here, look at that curve. Like that's really, really, really amazing. Yeah, I was really, really impressed with at least that part. So here I'm going to slow this down. As you see when I fire, how far this target is away, about 350 meters, and see how far they spread apart before they actually come together. It's really interesting, because aphids don't do that. They kind of stay pretty close together, but those really, really spread apart. It kind of makes a difference on how you're going to fire them. But as you saw there, they didn't spread apart nearly as much, so it does seem like the farther the opponent is away, they spread out more and more and more. And like right there, when I just fired at him, hardly any space between the rockets. So I'm going to fire to the side again here. Very useful. Like that particular thing is nice, because it, you can fire while retreating behind cover. Look at that. Like that did nothing. Only it seemed like maybe 2 rockets, 3 rockets out of the whole thing actually hit like slightly above the shield, but just very, very underwhelming. They really seem to have toned it back since the last test server, so that was nice. And right here, you'll see that the box, like his Ansel shield went away, and then the box spawned back, and then I fired the Vortex, and then it came, and then it hit him without hitting the Ansel shield. So I'm not really sure what was up with that. And then Let's see how fast we're able to take down a Leo with just with the Carnage Redeemer. This weapon is very, very powerful. It is a little concerning in my opinion. Just look at that, like, ooh, powerful. 2 shots, and it was able to take down that Carnage to half health. Now this is funny because the Golem is this weapon is so big on the Golem. I actually have the Gust as the light weapon, but the Redeemer is so large you can't even see the Gust there. Now this is a Jesse with 4 Gusts on it, and as you see, like it did nothing right there, really. And as I'm running over here, it's like he ended up killing himself, but it really wasn't doing anything to that shield. Like you'll see in a little bit, it does something to another shield. So damage on this test server, at least for the Gust and the Vortex, seem to be very inconsistent to me. Like right here, like I'm just not doing anything. This weapon doesn't seem to do really anything until you get within about 100 meters. So as I get closer and closer to this guy, it'll start doing more and more damage. But see, now we're starting to make a little bit of a dent. Let's see, look how close we were. We weren't doing anything to his shield. We were just doing more damage to him. It doesn't make sense really to me. And then I get taken out. So I decided to run my Galahad with Vortex and the Gust, and starting to do a little bit there. But like, look at the shield. Like, look how much damage that's doing to the shield right there. But it didn't do anything to the Ansel shield before. And then again, we have the Ansel. Its shield had the box had popped back up, but again, I was hitting him, and the shield didn't do anything. So very kind of buggy a little bit. Just I don't know if that's intended or what, but the Ansel box kind of fades away and then goes back, like really, really quickly, but doesn't actually seem to spawn. I don't know if that's intended or not. We'll see. This I was very, very impressed with. The Redeemers on the Raijin. Tons and tons of damage. Because in the Bastion mode, you get that damage buff. And as you see with this Jesse, like I barely nick the darn thing here. And I do a good amount of damage. So this weapon is going to even more so, I think, nullify light bots. Just with something like this that does this much damage in one volley. Yeah, it takes time to do it over time because it fires so slow, but it does so much in one shot that it makes any kind of light bot pretty useless. I'd be really interested to see how the Kumiho could stand up to it. Unfortunately, they didn't have the dash bots on this server, so I couldn't test that out. But it really does some interesting damage here. If I can get a hold of this Fury here. So I ended up going down pretty soon after that. So I dropped to my Butch again. And I liked this setup, but I don't think I'd ever actually run it on the live server. Because again, the Butch is just so slow and these weapons fire so slow. Slow and slow is not a very good combination. But trying to get a piece of whatever we can. And I ended up doing really, really well in this match. And I really only did damage with my Redeemers. And I ended up doing close to 1 million damage with just the Raijin and the Butch Redeemer. That does tell me it's a little overpowered. Maybe a little bit. But I'd like to do some further testing. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to do more and more gameplay. I got a chance to run maybe like 6-7 rounds of the test server. I would like to see the Redeemer put up against the dash bots. That's what I would really like to see in terms of how it would do. But I do fear it's going to make a lot of the silver bots, like the Griffin, the Leo, like as we've seen, it just melts the Leo. As you see right here, this Gust, I put this in here because the Gust does like this Leo has a Thunder and 3 Gusts, and it took him like 5 seconds or more to kill that Gepard. Is crazy. Just very, very ineffective weapon to me. So right now I'm trying to take on a Cossack, it looked like, and I never got close enough to see, but I'm pretty sure it's a Cossack. And as you see, I'm firing, and the weapon range is like 500, I think, but literally just not registering any kind of damage. So the Cossack is definitely a viable option at this point because it doesn't do anything, at least for the Gust. It just really just does nothing. In the Vortex, even though it's such a fine, well, not fine, but a small radius of damage, it still really didn't hit him. So this was a really, really good run for the Golem. It's the same setup I had before, where I have the Gust, the Redeemer, and then I've got a Tehran on there. And this setup was pretty effective besides the Gust. If I had put a Magnum on there, I probably would have done far more damage, or far more effective, because the Gust just doesn't seem to really do anything at certain times. Like I said, I don't know if there's something going on with the registration of damage, but this was a very good build. I really enjoyed it. I played with it a lot. Most of the battles I played with this setup, and it was good. And then so we're gonna get rid of this little guy right here. And as you see, this is the new team deathmatch. So we got these little, gas things. I really don't know how else to describe it. But as you can see, we spawned really, really close together. A little laggy, really, really close together. So it really likes to keep you on your toes. I like that. You don't have to wait so long to find the enemy, and then like spawning in long range bots or long range weapons is not necessarily the best idea if you're that close together. But this was actually some really decent footage of the Gust. Once you get into that 100 meter, 140, it does start to do a little bit more damage. But anything outside of that range is totally ineffective. But even still, I would consider it ineffective because it just doesn't, do too much. I would like to see. It seems like its spray is either really, really broad for such a tiny little weapon. Like, I would like to see it more focused. I don't know if damage is necessarily the way to just upping its damage is necessarily the way to go about it, because it's a light weapon that fires pretty continuously, just like the Magnum. And you don't want a weapon that fires continuously to be very powerful. But I think it does need a little bit of a buff of some kind. Maybe it needs to act like the Thunder. Like the, more damage with a little less reload time. But anyways, thanks for watching the video, guys. Catch you next time. Take care.